One time I was rehearsing at a studio in the valley, San Fernando Valley. The door opens and this guy steps in and he's like, "Oh, whoops, wrong room." And it was George Lynch.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. He was I guess Lynch Mob was also rehearsing there.
Oh.
And he didn't know what room they were in or something.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And you recognize him right away.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, yeah. You're pretty up there on YouTube as far as your number of subs, and you get a lot of views, so a lot of people know you. Do you ever get recognized some, regular place, like at the supermarket, the gas station, the gym, anybody come up and "You're Guitar Max"?
Yeah, I mean, if I go into a guitar center, most of the time someone will recognize me in there, right?
Yeah.
But that makes sense.
Right, of course, that's your audience.
Yeah, but yeah, sometimes at the shopping mall, I'll get recognized at the gym. One time that kind of blew my mind was I was at an airport going through security, and a TSA agent recognized me.
Really?
Yeah, and I was hoping they'd "Hey, can I cut the line?" But they're like, "Nah."
They pat you down to see if you're hiding any guitars under your clothes. Like that guy who tried to steal the guitar.
Down
He did the
pants,
video. Yeah, shoved it down his pants. Yeah.
In the COVID days, one person recognized me when I was wearing a mask. And
Just from the hair?
Well, just the eyes, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, maybe
was
maybe I was wearing a
"Wait a
Guitar
minute.
Max t-shirt. Yeah.
It's either Danzig or it's Guitar Max. I can't tell with the mask on. Which one is it?
Oh, that'd be great.
So you review a lot of guitars that are made in China, and you get a fair number of comments on your videos from people saying, "I would never buy a guitar from China.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to support the CCP. Those guitars are made with slave labor. How can you support that?" So how do you respond to that kind of thing?
Sure. So to start off with, probably one of the most annoying comments I get is with my signature guitar. So just so everyone's clear, most of the Harley Benton guitars are not made in China. There's, I think, a few of the really old models that
Mm-hmm.
are, but the majority is made in other countries and stuff, Vietnam and Indonesia. If someone doesn't want to buy a Chinese guitar for political reasons, I get that. I understand that, and they have the right to make that decision. You vote with your dollars, right? That kind of thing. I totally get that. If it's the Communist Party, I don't want to support that, then fine, okay. But if they're not doing it, if they don't want to buy a Chinese guitar because they think it's an inferior product, right? Mm-hmm. I couldn't be farther from the truth. The thing about Chinese manufacturing is they will make whatever quality you pay them to make, right? Mm-hmm. And there's this misconception that Chinese guitars is a new thing. It's that's not at all the case. Yeah. And there are so many established companies, a lot of the Squiers, Squier by Fender. A lot of that stuff is made in China. A lot of the LTD guitars are made in China. Some of the Jackson stuff is made in China. And
Epiphone?
Epiphone, absolutely. And it's been made in China for a very long time, right? So it's nothing new. And it's depending on where the company's based, LTD, if you consider that a Japanese company or whatever, but you think okay, a company in one country, they are going, and in some cases, like in the case of Fender, they are going and setting up their own factory in another country. Mm-hmm. So it's still them that's running it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not like a Chinese factory had this idea and then we're going to sell it to the Americans or something like that. I mean, so there's so many misconceptions about it. The other thing is the slave labor thing that you hear about all the time.
Yeah.
The idea that someone is like a chain gang kind of thing where they're in prison and they're forced to work here and that kind of stuff. And I know there's things like, the Uyghurs, and there's issues, there's very niche issues within China and that kind of stuff where there's they're put in prison on religious grounds and things like that. And it's okay, I understand you can disagree with that as well. But, there are different laws in China, and that's a very tiny minority, and those people are not making guitars. Mm-hmm. Anyway, if you look into it, if you look at what are the working conditions like in a Chinese guitar factory, how much are they being paid in relation to their living expenses, it's not any different than somebody working in a factory in the USA. Mm-hmm. So I think there's just there's a lot of misconceptions about quality that you get from Chinese manufacturing, and then a lot of misconceptions about the working conditions. And everybody that I have talked to, I have talked to Chinese people that live in China that make guitars. I have talked directly to them. They value their jobs, right? Obviously, they don't want you to not buy that product because then that's their business,
Yeah.
And the other thing is they take a lot of pride in their work. And that, to me, that's one of the worst things about this whole attitude, right? It's that it's so dismissive of the passion that people have for building instruments that just happen to be in a different country.
Yeah.
Right. And it's, I've talked to people and it's like, oh, it's, I played guitar when I was a little kid and I couldn't get a good instrument. And it's always been my dream to help young people who couldn't get a good instrument, in China, like a Chinese guy is saying this. He's like, I want to fix that problem that I had when I was a little kid, right? And they're very passionate about it. Yeah, so it's, I understand. I mean, there are things where just depending on, if somebody wants to, for political reasons, if they don't want to support that, fine, I get it. But I think the ideas about like, oh, well, you shouldn't buy from them because it like enables some kind of slavery or something like that. That's just a huge misconception of just the fundamental ways that works. That stuff works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the criticisms of China are legitimate, coming from a particular political viewpoint. But so many of the other things, I think, is just comes down to a misunderstanding of the working conditions in those factories, and also the motivation of the people who make those guitars. And I would hate, again, I said this before, but I'll say it again just at the end here. I would hate for me to work really, really hard on something and be proud of the thing, and then somebody tell me, oh, well, you only did that because you were forced to. But you don't go from that to like the guy that made this guitar is like evil or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you think your YouTube audience would be most surprised to know about you?
I have 3 cats, 2 guinea pigs, and 2 guinea pigs in the long line of many guinea pigs over the years. And I have a hamster and a fish. I don't think there's too many things that people would be surprised by. I think the person I am on my channel is pretty, that's who I am.
So right now, you're actually working on 2 different albums, like a solo album, and then you're doing another album with another guy that's involved. So tell us how that's going.
Yeah, so I've got the solo album, which is Titanium Rain, which I'm working on right now. And that's like a pure, like, Max Carlisle solo album, although I'm going to have a few guests on it. But all the, all the writing and that kind of stuff it's just me sitting at home with my guitar in the dark, basically. And then, the other album is with Dean Cascione. Most of the album's already finished.
Okay.
It's pretty close to being done.
Are you talking about both albums or the one with Dean?
The one with Dean. Most of that is done. The Titanium Rain, right this second, I can't say most of it is done, but that album is progressing much more quickly. Right,
Okay.
So from start to finish, it'll be much shorter. The working time will be much shorter than the Dean Cascione album. Yeah, and they're gonna be a little different in terms of the sound. The Dean Cascione stuff is very just like Yngwie, like neoclassical, that kind of thing.
Similar to the clip that you already released. You put a video up on your channel a little while ago. So
promo video with like basically the first single. So if people like that track, then they're gonna like the whole album. The Max Carlisle Titanium Rain album is going to be, it's still gonna be instrumental metal stuff, but it's tuned down one additional half step. So D standard tuning, and also there's a lot more like synth stuff. I don't want to say like, 80s synthesizers, but like string parts and things like that. So there's a wider variety of instrumentation on there.
And you're doing all that stuff yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing all of it. Yeah.
Any idea you want to give anybody? Any idea like when we can expect these to be done, or?
The Dean Cascione thing, I have no idea when the whole thing, like the whole album, will be done, because it's not just my schedule, but his.
Yeah.
My solo album will be finished this summer, and it was a Kickstarter funded, so it should be out to the Kickstarter backers, by the end of the summer, and then there'll be a public release after that, maybe in the fall or something like that.
What can we expect with like the future of the Guitar Max channel or anything Guitar Max related the next 5 to 10 years or whatever?
Well, there are particular things that I really want to do that are kind of like bigger things, I guess, I have in my head. A big part of it is I have, I do all my videos, or most of my videos, like at my, in my apartment, like where I live, right? Yeah. And I really want to have a dedicated space that I can build a set, right? And I have this all, I drew it out, like I have this all designed, and it'll be like kind of a larger room that, like, depending on the area of the room you're in, you can shoot different types of videos. So I'll have one corner that I'll do my demos, right? I'll have one corner for like my news videos. Then I'll have another section where I can interview people, and it'll all be kind of in one big room that's kind of like a Headbangers Ball kind of vibe, like that kind of background,
Yeah. You know what would be great for that?
What would be good?
An airplane hangar bay.
Yes, that is good. Yeah.
It would be enough room, that's for
sure.
sure.
An airplane in the background.
Yeah.
No, that would be great. I'd have to cut down you'd have to get some soundproofing, cut down the echo a little bit, but it's a good idea. But yeah, I want to build a set like that. That I can, just have this kind of cool decoration, maybe get like an Elvira pinball machine in the background, that kind of stuff. That just has the vibe that fits the channel and fits the stuff that I like. But then I can, depending on the format or the type of video I'm doing, you kind of highlight a different area of the set. So I really want to do that. What do you think? What kinds of stuff do you think people would want to see more of on the channel, or maybe something?
Well, I have kind of a vested interest in this one thing, and I've seen people ask you about it occasionally because you've only done it one time.
I know where you're going.
And that was the guitar solo contest, which I won 2 or 3 years ago.
This is true.
At the time, you kind of said, well, maybe I'll do this it'll be like a yearly thing. Well, it's kind of already past that point. So,
way past.
Everybody wants to know is if and when there's going to be another Guitar Max guitar solo contest.
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed that contest. Judging, right, and that's always a little tricky, right? And you're always going to have some people that are not happy with the results. Although I
was happy with the results.
Well, I think you would. I thought most people were pretty good about it. I think there were about 60 or 60-something entries.
Yeah. I think I went through and counted them. It was 60-something.
Yeah. So I would imagine it would, if it ends up with hundreds of entries, I should probably get like a judging panel or something like that. Maybe. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah. You should be you should be one of the judges, really.
I can't enter again?
Well,
No.
I think that would make sense to have the previous winner be like the judge for the next contest. That'd be cool.
I would be down for that.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
So we've got a question from Lotastic Films. I hope I'm saying that right. He says, what is your best advice for becoming big with guitar-related content on YouTube?
Okay. My best advice is to try a lot of different things and just see which one or ones resonate with the audience best, and then go more in that direction. And in order to do that, you have to be a little flexible with what you want to do. And I think some people have trouble with that. Like when they start their channel, they have a very clear image of how they see themselves being successful, and they don't want to deviate from that, even though it might not actually work.
Right.
So I think you have to, try a bunch of different formats. Try do a lesson video, a technique video, just like a rant, like your opinion about something, a product review, an album review. Like try a whole bunch of different things, and see what lands well. See what's going to work with the audience, and you have to experiment, because what works for me might not work for you.
Right.
And what doesn't work for me might work for you. It all comes down to just like how someone's personality comes across on camera and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think my best advice is to experiment with a lot of different things, see what works, go more in that direction, and be flexible with like what you want, what you see yourself doing.
Okay, we've got a question from Ba Benny, and he says, with so many guitars, do you ever get option paralysis? I guess he means like you just don't know which one to grab because you have so many.
That happens to me when I'm going to record something. Like I'm working on my solo album right now, and I like the idea of like, okay, I'm going to record all of the rhythm parts that are panned left with one particular guitar or something like that, and then I'm like, which guitar should I use? And I have to commit, the whole album to this guitar. Yeah. So I have trouble with that sometimes. If I'm just practicing or something like that, it's not that hard, right?
Right.
But if I'm going to record something where it's like this is going to be, this is how it is, and I have to say it's done, then it's like there's more commitment there, and then I do have that problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next question is from Lester Mitchell, and he says, "How do I get those guns?"
You got to lift heavy guitars. That's what you got to do, and road cases, all that stuff. Got to go up and down stairs carrying road cases. That's how I did it.
All right, I'm gonna start doing that.
That's the truth. I'm not lying in any way.
Okay.
Yeah. So Lester, I want to see you doing that. Okay. Next video you put out.
Okay.
That's the Guitar Max training program right there.
There you go, Lester.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so this leads right into our next question, which is from Freddie Vith, and he says, "What guitars do you use for lifting?"
Oh well, Les Pauls, right? Especially the ones made out of lead. They discontinued those. Not many people know about those guitars, to be honest. The lead, it was the Led Zeppelin Special Edition Les Paul. They're completely made out of lead. The bad thing is that they melt very easily, especially if in California, it gets hot outside. You leave them on the road, and you'll come out like an hour later, and the guitar is basically gone because it just melted and kind of.
That would suck.
Went away with the water, but so I'm fortunate in that I've been able to collect some of those over the years. I never really show them because they're very valuable. So,
well, they're in your freezer. You keep them in your freezer.
You got to keep them cold, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so I take those out of the freezer for about half an hour, and then I lift those and put them back in the freezer.
Cool.
Yeah. Again, not lying in any way here.
Mitch Hammond, or Haman, not sure how to say that, he says, "How did you learn how to play guitar so well? Did you take lessons or were you self-taught?"
I'm kind of a mix, I guess, of self-taught and taking lessons. I had a guitar teacher for like 6 months when I was in my teens, who taught me, the basics. He taught me the minor pentatonic scale and, bar chords and things like that. Also, my dad played guitar, but he played kind of like folksy kind of stuff. And so he was really, my dad and my uncle Patrick, they both played guitar, and they were kind of my like early influences of like, here's how you play an A chord and things like that. But I've never had a teacher for like a long period of time though. And I never went to, I didn't go to Musicians Institute or Berkeley or anything like that. So I learned like the fundamentals from teachers here and there, like in short intervals, and then the rest of it was instructional videos and magazines and that kind of stuff. Yeah, and just screwing around.
Andy Dion wants to know if you plan on producing any more documentaries or music videos.
Yes, I do. I think documentary. they're talking about there's a guy named Jimmy Swag.
Yes, he
I
did
I
actually
a
mention that in
documentary.
his comment. Yeah.
Yeah, and I made a documentary about him, and I've also and I also I do shoot like music videos for other people here and there, and it's the kind of thing where it's not like the main thing I do, right? But it's something I really enjoy doing. I mean, I just like it's fun to work with other artists and that kind of stuff. And you get to geek out on cameras and that kind of thing. So so I'm always doing that kind of stuff. I maybe do like 4 or 5 a year, like for other people, that kind of thing. Yeah.
All right, guys. So that's it with the fabulous Guitar Max here in Bald Shredder headquarters. And I just want to say, Max, thank you so much for coming out here and being with me today. I really appreciate it. It's been really awesome. And thanks to everybody for watching.
Cool. Well, it's been great to be here, and I hope that everybody out there is subscribed to your channel. They better be.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And guys, make sure you watch all the parts of the interview, not just this one.